Hey everybody, I am Milton Davis, and you are here for Black Men Reading Speculative Fiction 2. This all came about from the mastermind of Zig Zag Claybourne. We got together a few years ago. How long was that ago? Was it a year ago? A year ago. It was a year ago. Okay. And we decided to sit around and just read some shit. And it came out pretty good. People enjoyed it. So we said, hey, let's do it again. So here we are to do it again. In these times that we're going through right now, anytime we can get together and share some good words and hang out with some good people, it's always a good thing to do. We got our readers here with us. We're just gonna go from, I guess, from my right, your left. I got Errick Nunnally sitting next to me, and next to him is Gerald Coleman. Above him is Maurice Broaddus, and next to him is Justin C. Key, and we got Rob Cameron winding things up. So this is how we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna basically do it in alphabetical order, with the exception of well, actually Zig's story is going to come later, and since Zig is not able to read his story himself, we're going to have like a trifecta going on there. Three of our readers are going to come together and read his story, and they're going to read it at the end, because everybody knows that when Zig comes in, he's always bringing it, and he's the best person to wind stuff up. That's just who he is and how he does it and stuff like that. So we're gonna get started. We know y'all got things to do and stuff like that, and we're gonna start with our elder, with our mastermind, the man himself, Maurice Broaddus. And I will read his bio for those of you who don't know him, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but after tonight, you will. So, Maurice Broaddus is an award winning Afrofuturist and librarian. He has over 100 short stories published in such places as Lightspeed Magazine, Black Panther Tales of Wakanda, Out There Screaming, The End of the World as We Know It, New Tales of Stephen King's The Stand, Asimov's Weird Tales magazine of fantasy and science fiction, and Uncanny magazine. With over a dozen novels in print, his latest include Sweep of Stars, Breath of Oblivion, Black Panther, T'Challa Declassified, Unfadable, Pimp My Airship, and the usual suspects. Learn more about Maurice Broaddus at mauricebroaddus.com. So I'm going to step away and let Maurice take it on.
Hey, all right, thank you. Thank you. Uh Elder, daggone. I was thinking I was more like entering my full unk phase of my career. So not so much elders, maybe baby elder. Let me just try to ease into that bit. Uh but I'm gonna be reading from Vade Retro Satana. And it's a story that appears, man, Brother Milton, I'm trying to remember where that story most recently appears in. Ah, Space Funk, that anthology that just came out. So it appears in that, and actually want to decide to read this story because I didn't realize how much of a role this story and the mythology behind the story plays in that series. So if you're fans of Astra Black and the Astra Black series, Breath of Oblivion, and the next book, A City Dreaming, which was due a couple days ago. So if I disappear on y'all, you know what I'm doing. This plays a part in that. And so basically, the story is about our protagonist, Macia, who's been inducted from a young age into a military missionary organization known as Service of the Order. And so think of it as when Space Force gets religion. And so she's an armed escort of some missionaries spreading their message on a new planet. And so she's struggling with her role of using a gunpoint to move faith to people. And this people's in a state of rebellion led by a figure named Biafra, who's rebelling against being colonized by a foreign power in the name of religion. So here's an excerpt from Vade Retro Satana. User command Templar Navcom info. Catastrophic systems failure. Initiate shutdown and self-repair protocols. Macia hated unconsciousness. Drifting off to sleep often proved difficult enough, but the slow, murky confusion of regaining consciousness left her nauseous, like swimming to the surface of black waters. Pressure bubbled up about her head, making her feel vague and uncertain. Her eyes open, she craned her head about as best she could within the biomech suit. Without power to the servos in her arms that aided her movements, her arms slumped like leaden weights at her side. She was trapped inside her biomech suit, which was little more than a form-fitting coffin in this state. She sat against a wall, her legs akimbo and her weapon useless at her side. Her head rang, another wave of nausea swept over her. Unable to move, she was little more than a monument to a fallen soldier. A few meters away, Riss struggled to his feet, the left arm of his biomech suit shorn off. It was a few moments for her to process that it meant his arm was also missing. He limped about, lost and uncertain. A contingent of enemy troops rounded up the remaining soldiers of the order. They dragged the novices out to the center of the clearing in full view of the soldiers. Macia struggled to move, but she feared something was broken because every movement sent a fresh spike of pain to her skull. The troops parted as their leader approached. Biafra Oshun appeared a lot younger than Macia had imagined. She moved to a beat that was soft at first but seemed to gain force with each step. She had a power and intensity about her that buffeted the novices like they were caught in a windstorm. Her face remained unadorned, striking in cold beauty. She wore a head shaved clean, her skin as dark as unearthed pottery, the darkest shade of brown Macia had ever seen. Biafra's eyes, both haunted and weary, scanned the crowd. Who's in charge here? Biafra demanded, refusing to speak any of the commerce tongues, instead using one of the old languages. I am. A novice struggled to his feet when a Biafra's men shoved him forward. Biafra drew a weapon with such speed Macia didn't register it until the woman had already fired. The novice's body stood erect for a heartbeat or two until it realized it was dead and dropped. I asked, who is in charge here? SO Command, Templar, NAVCOM info. Partial power established. Backup systems nominal. Non-essential systems offline while charging. You are in charge, Macia said. Her biomech suit needed time to recharge. All eyes turned toward her. But I am responsible for these people's lives. You? Biafra spat. She turned to face the crowd of Uje who had gathered around the spectacle. These people prey on the vulnerable and desperate. These people come about with a Bible and guns, and I don't know which of the two is more destructive. These people come to tell us to reject our customs and history and teach us to self-hate. These people have taken away our spirituality and left us with religion. If if I have a credit, it can be used for good or evil, Macia managed. Whose hands it is in, what lies at their heart determines how it's used. Funny how you gravitate straight to currency to plead your case. Your mission trips provide an excuse for you to mine our resources and trade with us. You prop up a few leaders, make them wealthy, so they're more amenable for you to spread your word. I feel sorry for you. The things you must do to yourself and your thinking to remain so conditioned. You are thrice damned, a tool of the oppressor, a traitor to your people, and a betrayer to yourself. Don't pretend to know me. Hmm. Abducted as a child, indoctrinated, forced to commit acts of violence against your people. I don't need to know you. The story of the church is the same all over. If I had my way, I'd put you on trial and indict you for the same crimes you were initially perpetrated against you. There's a kind of poetic beauty in that. Look, I know who I am. I found my faith. I know who I am, Macia's thought. Lord, I believe. Help me with my unbelief. She rubbed her hand against the inside of her biomech suit, feeling the hum of her suit recharged. Her fingertips had developed calluses from years of holding weapon grips as she felt the occasional itch of them ghostly against her skin. Soon her suit would be fully powered up. She would only need to stall a little longer. Who are you? I've seen how the church treats dissenters. They have made me what I am today. They hobble us with religion while stripping away our spirituality. They came here with their Bibles and guns and put the guns to our heads and told us to worship, herded to their church like prisoners of war. They murdered our ancestors. Biafra drew her weapon again. You are responsible for their lives? Then you are responsible for this. Biafra motioned for one of her men to bring Riss over. She pressed her weapon to the side of his head, then leveled her eyes at Macy with a cool detachment. Riss's mouth moved wordlessly, rhythmically. Was it a prayer? Was it a plea for Macy to do something, anything to save his life? Without her internal filter, she smelled only her own fair sweat, which made bile rise in her throat. She screamed, feeling every bit helpless prisoner in her biomech suit. As if enticed by Macia's screams, Biafra squeezed the trigger, and Riss's brains splattered against the nearby wall. His blood ran down the wall in an imperfect smear. It looked no different from the blood of any other of the Uge dead. Maisie counted her opponents. By the way she moved, sure-footed and fluid, Biafra was the most dangerous. Despite the swelling chaos, the jeers of the Horta supporters among the crowd, and the waving of weapons, only half a dozen people remained at Biafra's ambush party. Even without a pulse rifle, with her biomech suit pumping stems into her system, she would soon satisfy the cry of innocent blood. Macy had been taught that she fought for the church and the safety of its people. Throughout her training, she was told that she was a holy soldier under divine provision. Many a senior novice absolved their soldiers of any crimes committed as long as they obeyed their orders passed down directly from the Holy Spirit. So in the eyes of gods, the soldiers were blameless and they simply were carrying out God's will. God judged soldiers differently from civilians. Once hostile relation conditions were met, judgment protocols were in effect. This could only end with the death of either Macia or Biafra. Oh, there would be blood. Kill us together or leave them alone. Daniel pushed through the gathered crowd. He stared down Biafra's men, taking the steel from the spines of many who had been jeering only moments ago. Some of Daniel's followers slipped past him and stood in front of Macy and the novices. This doesn't concern you, Biafra said. You do this in our name. What I do for all Uge. We aren't threatened by stories. We learn from them. We don't believe one story should destroy another. SO command, Templar Navcom info. All systems functioning within normal parameters. Macy's hand crept toward her weapon. Her biomech suit was as close to optimum as she needed. With Daniel's people running interference and with her reinforcements descending upon them, Macy knew she could end this with a single shot. She locked eyes with Biafra. The revolutionary's eyes betrayed the fact that she knew her upper hand was lost. Macy fingered the trigger of her pulse rifle. Every instinct in her commanded her to fire on the enemy of the service of the order. Her blood screamed at her. Her training screamed at her. Her history screamed at her. Her parents screamed at her. Daniel outstretched his hand. They were all lost children struggling to find their way. Macia lowered her rifle, and Biafra nodded. Thank you.
All right. That's what's up right there. That's an amazing story. And I'm glad that you were able to, you submitted this to Space Funk. I mean, let me stop. I don't want to advertise a book yet. But it's one of the reasons I was so excited about it, because I got stories like Maurice and stories like that really connect, and that's actually really relevant to a lot of things that we're going through right now.
Advertise it, bro. You got so many Space Funk authors in the joint tonight, so you might as well say something about
it. Yeah, we
take a victory lap.
Thank you, Gerald.
Right?
Yeah, for those of you who are not aware of it, we just dropped an anthology called Space Funk. It's a collection of over 40 stories by over 40 poets and authors, and it's about space. It's about the funk, all about nothing but the funk. Happy to have Maurice as one of the authors, Gerald Coleman here, Errick, yours truly. Just happen to have one sitting by me here. But yeah, and matter of fact, the story I'm going to read tonight is from there as well, and I'll give you a reason why. But yeah, y'all get a chance to check it out. Please check it out. So we're going to move on to our next reader here, the baby of the group, Rob Cameron.
Only because of the facial hair.
Yeah, he's working on that big boy beard. I'll tell you one day. But before we let our man share his talents, I'm gonna read you his biography. Cameron Robinson, who writes under the name of Rob Cameron, is a teacher, linguist, and writer. Among other publications, he has poetry, stories, and essays in Starline, the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, Tor.com, Foreign Policy magazine, and most recently in Apex magazine. One of his stories is curricular material for the Carter Hague School of Folklore. He's been guest lecturer at NYU on solar punk science fiction and is the lead organizer for Brooklyn Speculative Fiction Writers, the largest spec fic writers group in New York City. He's also founder of Constellations, a writing mentorship program for alumni of the Octavia Project. His solar punk noir novelette, Ice Like Honey comes out in Lightspeed magazine later this year, and his debut middle grade novel, Daydreamer, about a dyslexic boy raised by a dragon, came out from Random House Children's Book late August, and you can find it all over the place at www.robcameron.com. And I can vouch for Daydreamer. It's a great book. I had a chance to read the advanced copy of it, and I loved it. And you'll love it too. But I'm gonna step away now and let Rob take the mic.
Thank you, Milton. Facial hail notwithstanding, I'm going to try and read a seasoned story for you. So I'm going to read from my debut novel, Daydreamer. What you need to know about the story I'm going to tell right now is that Charles is 11 and a half years old, and he is dyslexic. But his life is good, at least it is for now. He lives in a building called the Beatrix in the city with his mom. And the cool thing about the Beatrix is that it is filled with fairy tale and folktale creatures. They call themselves dream folk. Now, the only way that he knows about any of this is because of the super in the building, who is his best friend, whose name is Glory Miles. And Glory, you can tell, is a dragon. Or at least, he says he's a dragon. And life is good for him until, near the beginning of the story, two new neighbors move in, and they're monsters. And they take away from him the one place where he feels the most power, where he feels special, which is his dreams, his sanctuary. They release a monster there, and it curses him. And this is the morning after. Chapter 11. Oh, he's at school, by the way. He just got sick, and he has to go home. He doesn't want to call his mom, so he calls Glory to come pick him up from school. I feel the dragon before I see him. My teeth stop chattering, and the muscles in the back of my neck unclench. I hear the click of his cane on the floor right before the dragon steps into the nurse's office. He stares me down, and I sit up straight. He spits a little white smoke out the side of his mouth and nods. Miss, where I got a sign. Take this. Oh, excuse me. We walk down Madison, then cross the street. Take this. The dragon pops the cap off a ginger ale and hands it to me. It'll settle your stomach. I hurry to stay as close as possible to the dragon to numb the curse. Hard to do that without getting pop up my nose. Ginger ale isn't the medicine, but it'll do until we get home to the Beatrix. I ever tell you how dream folk learn skinwalking? I shake my head. Even if he did, and he didn't, I wouldn't stop him. I live for the dragon's stories. And soon as he starts telling, the pain slides away and I leave my body. It was Brer Coyote who done figured it out first. He was creeping up on Brer Snake to eat him or play a trick right as Brer Snake was shedding his skin. The story plays out right in front of me. Bright watercolors bleed into everything, and I almost want to cry. Brer Coyote's steps pop with little blue puddles around his paws, and Brer Snake's hisses rattle sunrise orange trails off his tongue. Then inspiration slapped Brer Coyote. Slapped him so hard he was almost mad. When Brer Snake slithered off, Brer Coyote made himself kind of like a cloud and slipped into that old snakeskin. Perfect fit. Looking mighty fine in this old snakeskin, he said to himself. Brer Coyote went around, caught all kinds of birds for his dinner. Kept ducking Brer Hawk, though. Almost caught Brer Rabbit. It was the perfect disguise, and he was going to keep it to his own self. Then he thought, well, what if I want a skin that don't shed? Well, nothing to do but to peel it off them himself. What a monster Coyote would have become. But that night, he slept under Mama Cotton Tree. And don't you know that fool Coyote talked in his sleep, running his mouth about this new trick of his and all the folk he was going to skin. That upset Mama Cotton Tree, but what was she to do? Well, inspiration must have been walking about on holiday, 'cause it pinched her too. It was springtime, and her flowers were full of young seeds. She told all her seedlings what she'd heard Brer Coyote saying, and sent them every which way on the next breeze. 10,000s of them rode the north, south, east, and west winds. Wherever they landed, they told Brer Coyote's secret. The next day, Brer Coyote woke up and couldn't believe what he was seeing. Brer Snake was trading skins with Brer Owl. Owl with horse, horse with bear. Anybody and everybody knew the trick, which is how Brer Crocodile, playing at being a mouse, almost caught Coyote for dinner. Now Brer Coyote didn't dare use that trick to go hunting. He was extra skittish from forever on, howling all the night at what coulda, shoulda, woulda been. But the stars don't listen, the moon don't care, and we all got the rent due. Now, of course, most of the seeds didn't get the story on how to skinwalk exactly right, so most dream country folk who hear it had to figure out the exact details themselves, mostly without killing to take the skin. And that's why there are about as many ways to skinwalk as there are seeds in a cotton tree. But some folk ain't got no problem with killing. Those are the ones to watch out for. The daydream fades, cools to ash, and scatters like a dead dragon. I trip over a crack in the sidewalk. Glory catches me before I hit the ground. Why'd I even think that? Watch those big feet, boy. The dragon's smiling when he says it. Standing next to him, the only thing in the world in color, actually makes me feel worse somehow. You got something to say, Charles? He says, frowning. Not Charlie, Charles. I feel a little taller, braver, and the way he says it, it's like he's making room for me to grow. When I was small, the dragon never made me hold his hand when we crossed the street. He'd say, "No babysitters here, don't see no babies, neither." No, sir, I see a boy. Boys know the proper way to cross a street. Calixte, that's the new tenant. The boy's name is Junior. How do you know? He asks, arching one eyebrow, surprised. He's in my class, but he wasn't there today. Glory's quiet as we cross 3rd Street. We gotta watch the ground here because people don't clean up after their dogs. They came over from Haiti, he says, though that's for sure not their home or their real name. I nod my head like I know. That doesn't fool the dragon. Boy, what you learn in school all day? Haiti, one half of an island, southeast of Florida, most successful slave revolt in the New World. Oh, do you know what they are? Boy, you know I know. You were sneaking about in the hall this morning, wasn't you? Trolls, which is how I know they ain't Haitian. Trolls, this kind anyway, come from the north and across the ocean. Their real skin's a kind of ashy dead man green. A lot of nerve setting foot down there. If the Mambas or Hootsie witch doctors don't take 'em out, the Duende surely would. Put a Fuku curse on 'em. They don't play down there, The trolls must have been slumming it in the city, like Port-au-Prince, most likely. I remember Glory and Mrs. Huang's argument. Miss Huang think they're trolls? The dragon snorts an angry jet of black smoke and gives the front of his coat a hard shake. That old bag, he shouts. Why, she wouldn't know a troll if it had rose up and bit her on that long, long snout of a nose. I noticed the fish wrapped in a newspaper under his arm. I keep my mouth shut. I can tell they trolls by their low, predator slink, said the dragon. The way they walk marks them as a troll through and through. Can you smell them too? He nodded. No matter which way the skin's made, nobody's quite figured out how to get the human kind of stink right. So there's always a bit of glamour and sleight of hand in the conjuration of a skin, says Glory. If you got a good nose like mine, it's like walking into a room with somebody who's got on too much cologne. Well, what do people smell like? Like sweat and soap, he says. Some less soap than others. He sidesteps a couple of teenagers walking the other way. Now, trolls are mean-tempered. It goes without saying they can be dangerous. But he holds up a finger. Manageable. But look at what they already did. Suddenly, great big jaws snap at me from the left. I jump behind the dragon. Next to where I was standing, there's Mr. Thompson's fat old Doberman, Cadejo, chained up next to the stoop of his building. Cadejo gives me a big, toothless doggy grin. Glory looks at me, and my cheeks get hot. Glory sighs. Boy, can't be jumping at every little thing. Now, if the only folk living in the Beatrix were the cute, cuddly type, he twitters his fingers around his head like butterfly wings, then we'd all be out on our butts, myself included. Some of the humans, too. Make no mistake, in my true form, I'm the toughest, baddest dragon you ever seen, and don't you forget it. We cross Second Avenue, almost home. This cold won't go away. Even with the dragon close by, my body still hurts from last night, and I can't see the sun because it's smothered under gray garbage bag clouds, dropping dirty flakes on everything except Mr. Miles. His long green coat with the tails is completely dry. The snow melts in the air before it touches him. Right now, that makes me mad. Mr. Miles, he beats his son. Junior got it bad last night. Good, says Glory. Old man's doing his job. You try raising a troll without giving him a couple licks. Should beat him more often, twice on Tuesdays. He nods his head. Can't believe what I'm hearing. But he's just a boy. No, he's a troll. And it ain't the old trolls who cause the most trouble. It's them young bloods who want to make a name for themselves. Why, I wouldn't be surprised if Junior's up to his elbows in calamity and damnation. They're right above me, Mr. Miles. I can hear it. Why can't you make them leave? I can't what? He grabs me by the backpack and spins me around. I've tolerated more than enough lip from you and Miss Huang. I ain't hearing no more. There's worse things in the world than a couple of raggedy trolls. I'll lay down the law to them, and they will follow the rules, just like you. I am so mad. Why won't he listen? He puts his finger right in my face. You crying? You mad? No. What, boy? His eyes are green slits, and the smoke pouring out his nose and mouth is choking. I hold my breath. I said, no, sir. That's right, you ain't. That fire in your belly? Use it. Swallow that sass, 'cause I better not see it. Burn it all the way up. I want to be good, and maybe this is what it takes. I don't have to like it, though. This here's over, Charles. Now let's go. The traffic light has already turned, so I didn't wait for him before I crossed the street. Ain't no babies here, right? My stomach twists around a piece of glass. Pain. All of a sudden, I'm wet and sweaty and freezing. Oh no. I'm halfway across the street, and I forgot about the curse, and I'm too far away from the dragon. And I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very much. Rob, if you can if you have a chance, please share your link to Daydreamer for everybody to check it out because it is a great book. I mean, like I said, I had a chance to read it, enjoyed it. I'll put the pressure on him, waiting for the sequel. But yeah, it's an excellent book. Y'all need to check it out. So our next reader is the one and only Gerald L. Coleman. Raise a glass for Gerald. There you go. It's that Kentucky bourbon. So let me tell y'all about Gerald Coleman.
Man, don't read all of that. Don't read all of that.
Well, man, the people got to know. The people need to know.
Just read a little snippet of it.
All right, I'll read a snippet of it. Gerald L. Coleman is a philosopher, theologian, poet, and science fiction and fantasy author. He did his undergraduate work in philosophy, English, and religious studies, followed by a master's degree in theology. He is the author of the epic fantasy novel series, The Three Gifts, which currently includes When Night Falls, Book 1, A Plague of Shadows, Book 2, and the upcoming When Chaos Reigns, Book 3. His work also appears in multiple anthologies, magazines, and journals. And yes, Gerald, I'm reading all of it. He served as a Scholastic National Writing Junior, a grant reviewer for the Poetry Foundation, is a co-founder of the Appalachian Poets, a Risling Award nominee, a Locus Award nominee as an anthology contributor, and a fellow at the Black Earth Institute. He's been a guest author at multiple conventions and conferences, and a guest poet and lecturer at multiple colleges and universities. His newest release includes a collection of science fiction and fantasy stories entitled From Earth to Sky, and a collection of poems and micro essays entitled On the Black Hand Side. You can find him at geraldcoleman.com. And I've read all these books and they're great. So, hey, Gerald, it's all yours.
Thank you, brother. Let me, before I read real quick, say a big thank you on behalf of everyone, to Carlos Hernandez, who's handling all the kind of the technical behind the scenes stuff. Thank you, Carlos, for being willing to jump in and take care of that for us tonight. And I think he's asked some folks that if you have to please change your name to the name that you registered with, so that you won't get bumped. And that may require you logging out and logging back in. But we want to make sure you don't just get kicked to the curb and not know why. Okay. I was initially going to read an excerpt from a short story, but I thought maybe since probably all my colleagues are going to do that I would break it up a little bit and just read a couple of poems to kind of give some variety to the evening. So let me do that. I'm going to read a couple of speculative fiction poems and the other good thing about it is it's an introduction to anyone who doesn't know yet about the upcoming collection, new collection, Incendiary, that'll be out this year. So I'm going to do that. Just two quick ones. The first one, this first one is called, excuse me, 2025 is a bad bootleg of a straight to streaming B movie. This ain't Tank Girl. It's a bad B movie without the charm of Beastmaster or the optimism of The Last Starfighter. It ain't even as entertaining as Krull. At least Torquil knew fame is an empty purse. Eat it, you go hungry. This ain't Willow. It's a straight to streaming dumpster fire without the gravitas of Howard the Duck or the heart of The Last Dragon. At least Sho'nuff really had the glow. This shit is giving B movie and giving it a bad name, even though we call it reality. It's a scratchy bootleg with people walking in front of the screen, talking over the dialogue. 2025 is ghetto and not even fabulous. All because an incompetent con man with a bad toupee and a tacky spray tan played white folks America's favorite song, White Supremacy. The second poem is a kind of a play on what's called a found poem. A found poem is a poem that takes pre-existing text and rearranges it to create a poem. Probably a really good example that you may be familiar with are the ones that take a sheet of paper that has a document, and then the poet blacks out a bunch of words so that the words that are left create a poem. That's basically what a version of a found poem. And this is kind of a play on that. It's not a found poem in that way, but a play on it because I take a pre-existing scene, a fantasy scene, and make I think a contemporary commentary on our current situation using it. This is called The Bridge of Khazad-dûm. They have crawled from under rocks, out of the dark corners, a chittering mass of deplorables, because they think it's safe to hate in the sunshine. They believe they outnumber us. They are coming to devour the light, the whispered promise of a gleaming city on a hill, because the greedy dug so deep, they unearthed a great slumbering darkness. Remind them it isn't safe. Tell them you are the wielder of the eternal flame. Stand on the bridge. Block their way. Do not let them pass. Send them back to the shadows. It's what Gandalf would do. Thank you.
Gerald. That boy good. Last time, I remember when we did this last year and Gerald read his poems, he had me about to ready to jump out my chair and go burn something down, something like that. So, um, unfortunately, my HOA would probably have a problem with that, so so I wasn't able to do that. So, thank you, Gerald. Thank you very much for that, man. I mean, you always do that. You always make us think, and you always give us a course of action. I'll put it that way. So this next guy who's up, I don't really understand why he's part of this group, but he is. So I'm gonna read his bio and and he'll make it do what it do. Milton Davis is an award-winning Black speculative fiction author and owner of MV Media LLC, a small publishing company specializing in science fiction and fantasy based on African diaspora history, culture, and traditions. For 20 years, he has been at the forefront of Black speculative fiction and Afrofuturism. He is the author of 30 novels and short story collections and co-editor of 14 anthologies. Milton Davis has been published in various publications such as Black Panther Tales of Wakanda, Slay Stories of the Vampire Noir, the year's Best African Speculative Fiction 2022. His publications have been nominated for various awards, including the Pushcart Award and the British Science Fiction Association Award for short fiction. His most current project is a co-editor of the year's Best African Speculative Fiction 2022, was nominated for the 2024 Locus Award for Best Anthology. Milton has received the Ekbach Pioneer Lifetime Achievement Award, the 2024 Con Carolina Polaris Award, and the 2024 Deep South Con Phoenix Award. You can find his work at mvmediaatl.com. So that's that dude. So, but the story I like to read tonight is from the Space Funk anthology. Actually, it is a combination poem/story, and the poem was written by the person who Space Funk is dedicated to, Valjean Jeffers. Valjean passed away a few years ago. She was one of the original crew, I call it. We all met on the State of Black on Black Science Fiction Society, and we would get together and do all these little reading challenges and stuff like that. She was a southern woman from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I best describe her as iron wrapped in cotton. she she was soft on the outside, but she could be hard when she needed to be. And we miss her very much, and we know that if she was here, she definitely would have had a story in Space Funk. This story is actually came out of a challenge a few years ago. At that time, I didn't know anyone who had written science fiction poetry. I just wasn't aware of it. And so I issued a challenge. I said, if somebody would write a poem, a science fiction poem, I would write a story based on that poem. So here comes Valjean with a poem. And so she accepted my challenge. And so I start this story with her poem, and then I'll read a bit of the story itself. The title of this is Leviathan. Leviathan of flesh and steel, racing through streets, soaring comet of technological genius. His fist crushed tons of debris to dust. His sight travels miles over the designated horizon. Torn from his life, crushed, disemboweled by madness, inferno, and stone. To be reconstructed by human hands, and I'd rather be dead. He remembers the whisper of a lover's breath on his cheek, the head he cradled so gently against his shoulder, and he has no tear ducts to give voice to his sorrow. Only the dreams of his hard-wired heart never forgotten, imaginings of her soft caress upon his metal brow. Space Marshal Balagoon Babatunde posed before the view shield of Launch Station 5, his rugged brown face creased with a broad smile. Behind him, the United Nations delegation gazed in awe at the sight beyond the platform jetting into the void. 10 sleek vessels hovered in zero gravity, tethered to the hangar beam by a web of massive titanium cables. From a distance, they resembled normal fighter craft, minus the cockpit. But the delegation knew each ship was the size of Earth's moon, an unbelievable example of human ingenuity, effort, and desperation. Balagoon turned to his colleagues and his smile grew wider. Well, everyone, what do you think? They're amazing, John Raddick replied. A tall, narrow man with a beak nose and straw blonde hair, Raddick served as UN Vice Secretary. He was a successful American billionaire who paid for his position with the Council and was easily impressed. The Space Marshal dismissed his comment, focusing on the one person whose opinion mattered the most, the one who could make or break his project. Her expression was less impressed. The mechanics are simple, Folashade and Becky commented. I'm more concerned about the control system. Folashade and Becky, the Nigerian vice chairperson overseeing the Leviathan project, was a striking woman with flawless brown skin and intense amber eyes. She held a PhD in space engineering and was not easily impressed. Balagoon's smile faded. The control system is fine. Folashade cut her eyes at the Space Marshal. The control system is untested. Yuan Hao cleared his throat, looking up at both of them. AI is proven technology. You know this, Fola. The Taiwanese delegate and AI specialist stood beside the Space Marshal. He was as tall and broad as the Space Marshal, with empathetic eyes that revealed his support for the project. Yes, but not for military purposes, she answered. I understand the gravity of the situation. The signal from the Tibet left no doubt that they intend to attack us. So much for friendly first contact, John whispered. I'm not comfortable with thinking machines, Folashade finished. That's why I insist you come. The Space Marshal broke from the group, crossing the room to an instrument panel opposite the view screen. Begin demonstration, he ordered. The titanium cables separated from the ship, floating to rest in the cold vacuum. Engine ports glowed white hot as the vehicles prepared themselves for maneuvers. Balagoon activated his earpiece. Leviathan 1, commence cross-check. Are you talking to the ship? Folashade asked. Of course, Balagoon replied. The Leviathans have been taught to recognize and respond to all major Earth languages. Of course, they also interpret binary code and other basic text speak. This is Leviathan 1, the metallic voice responded. Cross-check is complete. Folashade edged toward the view screen. How do they receive assignments? We briefed the pod leader and he relays orders to the team. Folashade looked confused. The pod leader? The Leviathans were infused with pod social behavior. They work as a group, adapt and learn behavior to determine each ship's responsibility. Leviathan 1 is the most intelligent of the 10. The others selected him to be pod leader, so we don't expect any problems with the command structure. Folashade stared at and Balagoon smiled. You must understand these are semi-sentient craft, Balagoon explained. They are designed to operate independently. This means they must be allowed to make their own decisions. We give them an objective and a desired result. It's up to them to determine the course of action. That's too much independence, Folashade argued. Balagoon frowned at the diplomat, disappointed by her ignorance. When these ships reach their destination, we will be dead, our children will be dead, and our children's children will be dead. In addition, the nature of the threat may have drastically changed. The Leviathans must be prepared to assess the situation and adjust the plan to obtain the objective. How do you know they'll stick to the plan? She asked. Balagoon's face became stern. Some things are not left to chance. It is the one command they cannot alter. The ships remained motionless. Balagoon repeated the command. Leviathan 1, begin exercise. Leviathan 1 didn't respond. Sweat formed on Balagoon's forehead. Jennings, run a communication sequence. Airman Jennings' fingers ran across the LED board. Communications functioning normally, sir. Folashade came face to face with Balagoon. What seems to be the problem, Commander? Balagoon cleared his throat. I don't know. He swam in a sea of memories, grasping for schools of shimmering metaphors that scattered before him. Arms stroked that he could not see, legs kicked that he could not feel. Somehow he knew they were there. The only sensations were the cold of the water and the pain in his heart. Words formed a beach of consciousness that called him with a rush of desire. She was there. She waited for him. He had to see her. He needed to know. He stepped out of the memories onto a beach of white silicone, a cold wind tingling his surface. He gazed up with his sensors, eyes, into an intense brightness that spoke to him in 1,000 languages, each phrase issuing the same command. Program malfunction. Return to standby. Await further orders. The brightness grew too intense. The memories evaporated in an increasing light, confusing him. He turned and ran back to the sea, flailing to get away from the glare. He dove deeper to escape the light, and the memories surrounded him in a swirling dance. Images returned, faces formed, and names appeared. One name danced about his head, just outside his reach. It was a good name, a familiar name, his name. And that's it. Hope y'all enjoyed that. That boy's all right. Anyway, we're going to move right on to our next reader.
Milton, can I quickly make an announcement before we move on?
Yes, you can.
And thank you for that reading, brother. You always know how to bring it. I just wanted to quickly say that the Kickstarter for Incendiary crossed the finish line while I was reading, thanks to a couple of attendees in the audience tonight. I just wanted to say thank you all. Looking forward to getting it out to folks.
Thank you for that. Let everybody know about that too. Put that on your chat so they'll know where to go to and stuff. So our next reader is a person that is new to us, some of us, but is not new to writing. He's the newbie of the group, and his name is Justin Key. And let me tell you a little bit something about him. Justin C. Key is a speculative fiction writer and psychiatrist whose short stories have appeared in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, Strange Horizons, Tor.com, Escape Pod, Lightspeed, and Jordan Peele's Out There Screaming. A graduate of Clarion West, his debut short story collection, The World Wasn't Ready for You, is out now from HarperCollins. When Justin isn't writing, working with patients, or exploring Los Angeles with his wife, he's chasing after his 3 young and energetic children. You can follow his journey at www.justinckey.com. Justin, it's all yours.
All right. Really happy to be here and reading. I should be reading some from my short story collection, which is up there, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit more lighthearted. So I'm going to be reading from a story that was in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction a few years ago called Enraptured. All right. I'd said the N-word 3 times in my entire life, and now anyone could tell by just looking at my forehead. I felt the tally mark scars as I waited for my new temporary boss to walk into his cozy therapy office tucked away in Summerfield, North Carolina. What if Dr. Austin Morgan was Black? The staffing agency recruiter scoffed at my request for a white employer. Since Judgment Day, the agency had implemented blind pairings to prevent discrimination against the permanently scarred. She obviously felt like this was enough. I checked Dr. Morgan's schedule again. 20 minutes until his first patient. I already had access to his calendar, patient records, and a cheat sheet of his preferences, including how he liked his coffee and the protocol for disturbing him during a session. Everything so that I can make a good first impression. The agency even offered me a forehead wrap, but I declined. Back in Los Angeles, coverers were second only to Sixers when it came to public shame. I was about to see how they did things in North Carolina. The muffled jingle of keys, a silhouette outside the door. Showtime. I stood up straight, put on my best smile, and fuck, he was black. Dr. Morgan wasn't tall, dark, or handsome. He was a little shorter than me, in fact, and I had to get on my tiptoes to reach the top shelf for my morning cereal. His skin was a light brown, though only a few years older than me. His hair had thinned considerably at the crown. Judging from his forced curls, he was still in denial about this. And yet, the therapist's carefree gait, his forehead free of branding, I found myself wanting more than ever to be black. Even as I learned the latest dance moves, marveled at their athleticism, I laughed at how funny they could be. I never wished for their skin until now, because Dr. Morgan's hue gave him immunity. He'd probably said the damn word thousands, millions of times in his life. The marks on my head began to itch, reminding me of my 3 in comparison. I resisted rubbing them. You must be Carl. We shook hands. Austin Morgan. Yes, Carl, which you know already. That's me, Carl Wyatt. He crossed the intimate waiting room to drop off his winter coat and briefcase in his office. As he did so, his eyes went to my forehead. A quick flicker, almost imperceptible. So how does this work? He said. Try you out for a week, and then if I like you, I keep you? That's what they told me, kind of like a dating game. I'm sure we'll get along just fine. You live close? Yep. Yes, sir. Doctor, sir. Me and my girlfriend, we just moved from Los Angeles. Cali boy, huh? What brings you all the way to North Carolina? Change of pace. Ever since Judgment Day, my girlfriend and I wanted something simpler, quieter. The doctor raised an eyebrow. I don't follow. Oh, in California, the marks are a big deal. Here in the South, we figured people would be more accepting. On what would become known as Judgment Day, a quarter of America's population had disappeared into thin air during one of the president's televised rallies. The president himself flickered out of existence. A remarkable moment caught on camera. His gluttonous smile had eroded for 1 second that might have been realization, and then his suit collapsed like a building. The broadcast continued as screams filled the arena. Someone knocked over the camera in their panic, and one of the last images before the feed was cut, was a rat with orange tufts of fur over its eyes, sniffing the lens. Pandemonium ensued, of course. Even the most skeptical of atheists conceded that the rapture had likely occurred, especially since whole churches in the country's Bible Belt had vanished. Once the smoke cleared, people began to put the pieces together. More than half of the left behind had tally marks crudely carved into their foreheads, ranging from 1 to 6. Viral videos showed an additional mark appearing on survivors' foreheads after saying the N-word. Studies confirmed what many had anecdotally observed. None of the raptured or the scarred was of African descent. And most disturbingly, the whole country appeared to have a newly burgeoning rat infestation. In conclusion, some woke-ass alien turned all the real racist people in America into rats and left the rest of us, well, most of us, scarred for public shaming. That's how I like to think about it anyway. After this epiphany, I was actually surprised by how many people were left behind. I had lost my whole family, even my cousin David, who had married a black woman. A black woman. He was probably the least racist person I knew. Though his wife hadn't looked that surprised at his memorial. She had laughed hysterically when a bunch of rats crowded the back pew, but my family hadn't been racist. If they'd all been taken, how had so many other people been left behind? Left unmarked? Why wasn't every single white American either a rat or a walking scorecard? Life was confusing in that way. California divided into 2 extremes, the unmarked saints who rained down their righteousness on everyone else, and the radical apologists, some of whom went as far as to uplift the shame, calling them heroes and champions of free speech. I thought the move to Summerfield would be good for us. The South represented peak racism. With the marks on my head, I could be invisible again. Nah, Dr. Morgan said. People aren't what you'd think down here. It's racist as fuck, but it's so established that they don't have the need for the N-word. I looked at him and found a ray of self-redeeming hope. You can't say it either? Of course I can, but I'm not going to flaunt it. Flaunt, sir? I wouldn't eat a fudge sundae in front of someone with their jaw wired shut. He began to gesture toward me, caught himself, and rubbed the back of his neck. I'm not an asshole, is what I'm saying. I'm sympathetic to your constraints. I wouldn't think of it as a sundae. No judgment. More like being allergic to shit. I don't want to eat shit anyway. I'm not a shit eater, sir. Well, Dr. Morgan pointed to my forehead. A little bit of shit, right? Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
You like that? By my bullet, bro. Wasn't ready for you. How now?
No, my
Did
face
not
hurts
see
from
that
laughing. Ow. See, in the messages, I was like, I saw Justin's head. Like, wait, that wasn't there a second ago. Does he know? He had kids too. Did someone just sneak up on him? But no, this is legit. Thank
I
you.
only met Justin once in person. I never suspected he was a racist.
Justin, you fit
Don't
right
lie.
in, bro. You fit right in. I want to go back and do last year over. Oh, thank you for that, bro. Thank you so much. Okay, our next reader is a person whose reading I just came across recently, and I've enjoyed it very much. And he goes by the name of Errick Nunnally, which down south we would call him Errick Nunnally. But let me tell you something about Errick Nunnally. Errick Nunnally was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, and served one tour in the Marine Corps, Semper Fi, before deciding art school was a safer pursuit. He enjoys art, comics, and genre novels. A graphic designer by day, he has trained in the Krav Maga and Muay Thai kickboxing. His work has appeared in several anthologies of speculative fiction. His work can be found in Apex Magazine, Fire Magazine, Galaxy's Edge, Lamplight, Nightlight Podcast, and the novels Lightning Wears a Red Cape, Blood for the Sun, and All the Dead Men. He also has a story in Space Funk. He has a short novel, The Queen of Saturn and the Prince in Exile, which I've also read, which is a very good book, by the way, coming in April 2025 from Clash Books. Visit erricknunnally.us to learn more about his work. Errick, here you go.
All right, thank you, Milton. That was so I'm going to be reading from the short novel that Milton mentioned, The Queen of Saturn and the Prince in Exile. And it's on pre-order right now. It's coming out April 22nd from Clash Books, and I'll drop the link in the chat in a minute. So the book is so the short version of this is it's a black nerd coming of age novel set in 1970s Boston about a boy who struggles to learn the truth behind his mother's claims of otherworldly origins in the smoldering aftermath of the civil rights era and COINTELPRO's dying breaths. His mother has consistently claimed to be from Saturn for most of his living memory, and he's not quite 13 yet in this scene, and he has been sent to a summer camp in Maine, which he's been going to for most of his life. At the time, up to this point, he's been having strange sensory hallucinations and experiencing all kinds of unusual things happening in his life. And this whole time, he's trying to figure out how his parents met and whether his mother's telling the truth or not, because it's such a strange affectation for her to maintain. And both of his parents were part of a Black Power group. This takes place in the early 1970s. And I grew up in the 70s in Boston, but late 70s I pushed it backwards because I wanted to deal with not only the politics but the music and some of the more embedded aspects of Black culture. So here they're standing in line because now that they're older kids in camp, they're going to be doing some summer camp Olympic activities. Raphael, a boy who lived somewhere in the same neighborhoods as Sean did, asked him, "Yo, you talked to any of the girls yet?" He was Puerto Rican with a boxy head of curly hair, crooked teeth, and rapid-fire verbal delivery. He also started every sentence with "hey" or "yo," and it was a feature of any cajoling impression of him. When someone took it on, it was to shut him up. "No, not yet." Kevin said not yet. Kevin was one of the larger kids, blustery and soft around the middle. Dark skin meant he only got darker as the summer wore on, and he took some trash for it. Push him too far, however, and he'd come for you. His size and attitude meant that he was to be respected. Sean was glad Kevin lived on the far side of Roxbury, well away from his neighborhood. Sean had learned years ago to recognize the different levels of aggression coming off of people in the hood. He wasn't being threatened, but mildly challenged, and he'd best answer before the matter got out of hand. "That's right, not yet. What? You slip out at night and canoe around the lake to have a word?" Some of the boys took that as a slight on Kevin's weight. Not at all what Sean intended, and they chuckled about it. It did not help matters that Kevin was a poor swimmer, and to see his fear when they were in or on the water was a sight. "Bitches be on these shorts," Kevin huffed. "Hey, Kevin, watch your mouth or you're out," Tyler shouted. He was one of the lead counselors, a lean blond man wearing aviator sunglasses. He had a horseshoe mustache, and the hair on top of his head was bleached almost white by the sun. Every summer, he wore a tank top and jeans cut above the thigh with calf-high socks and canvas cons. Everyone thought he was cool, like a character from TV. Kevin said, "Sorry, Ty." The counselor tipped his glasses down so everyone could see his blue eyes. Then he turned his attention back to the games. Raphael piped up, "Hey, Kevin ain't slipping nowhere, especially in no canoe." Anger flitted across Kevin's face, and his gaze stopped at Sean's face. Sean shrugged and rolled his eyes before he said, "Y'all need to shut up. Ain't none of us spoke to the girls yet. This could be our only chance if we don't get more free time later." The targeted comment landed, and its delivery served to diffuse Kevin's temper. The larger boy waved the whole thing off. Raphael grinned and moved closer to Sean. "Yo, I bet you got your eye on someone. Who is it?" Sean sighed and said, "I don't know. I only know a couple of their names. I did see a girl with a pink top when we got on the buses to come here. Long curly black hair." "Yo, shoot, you mean Luvia?" The way Raphael said her name sounded like beauty to Sean's ears. The line shuffled forward, forcing everyone to realign. Sean caught a glimpse of Luvia. "You know her?" Sean asked Raphael. "Yo, she lives in my neighborhood, man. She Puerto Rican fine and all that, bro. You don't stand a chance with that." Sean glanced over, making sure Luvia wasn't looking in their direction. Then he took a good look. Every now and then he could catch a glimpse of her profile as she chatted with the girls around her. He leaned out and counted the boys in front of him. Then he counted the girls in her line. If he wanted to be next to her, he'd have to navigate forward by 3 bodies. He had nothing to trade for the position. Sojourner wouldn't be sending brownies for another week and a half. Not everyone enjoyed comics the way he did. The only other item of value at the camp was the bug juice the counselors served at the end of the day after group events. He could see the big orange jugs on the sidelines, condensation dripping down their sides. They were juice concentrates on plenty of ice, and it was rationed tightly. It got the nickname for the occasional bug that died floating in the nectar. Besides the sporadic dessert after dinner, it was the only sweet available. Sean turned to the boy in front of him. "Hey, Kev." "What?" "Let me trade places with you." "The hell for?" Tyler leaned out from the front of the line with his arms spread wide and his eyes on Kevin. Kevin mouthed, sorry, and tapped his forehead in response. Look, man, Sean said, I just need to move up a few places, please. Hey, 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 boy here want to talk to Hoovia, Raphael said. Kevin sucked his teeth. No, man. I'll give you my bug juice after this. No. My dessert then, your choice. That got Kevin's attention. You mean whenever I say you'll give me your dessert? Yeah, one time, 3 times, chump. Sean glanced at Julia's back. Her shiny black curls bounced when she laughed. She wore a bright yellow top, interrupted only by her hair ending between her shoulder blades. The yellow bled like a halo of golden fire, streams peeling with the light breeze. 2. Now let me by. Kevin stepped to the side with an evil grin and waved Sean forward with a magnanimous flourish. The next 2 boys took the bug juice deal. Sean stood parallel to Luvia and stole furtive glances at the girl standing several feet away. She knocked an arrow, took a breath, and let fly. The bolt pierced the bullseye. 2 more shots to go. Impressed, Sean said, Nice shot. Luvia smiled at him. Sean drew his arrow and sighted down the shaft. He breathed deeply, taking in the sharp scent of cut grass, soil, and pine all around them. The feathers on the arrow tickled his cheek, and the green around the feet of the target flowed like an ocean. The colored rings on the battered canvas of the target flared and swirled counter to each other. A silver mist of air swirled around his head and peeled back a path from the tip of his arrow to its destination. He loosed and hit the bullseye. Took you long enough, Huvia said, and let fly her second arrow. It too found center. Sean nodded and knocked another arrow and put another arrow in the center of the target. Huvia's eyebrows raised before she refocused on her final shot. The arrow flew true and joined the others in a cluster. Sean's third arrow landed just outside center. Can't win them all, I guess, he said to Huvia. Tyler called out for a ceasefire and gave the all clear. The shooters jogged down to the target to collect their arrows. Huvia responded, Unless I'm shooting. Bright white highlights swirled in her curls, leaving a glowing trail, and bits of diamond flecks sparkled in her eyes. He couldn't clear his vision, and, like before, all was right with the world. He flowed. I'm Sean, and you are? Don't act like you don't know me. I saw you talking to Raphael. Raphael's not the keeper of your name. She smiled at that. Luvia. Her name, again, sounded like magic to his ears, coming from a native Spanish speaker. No L sounds, no V sounds, and all soft vowels and gentle consonants that gathered tight in his brain. He repeated her name without flaw. Not bad, she said, before they walked towards the back of their respective lines. You speak Spanish? Non, je parle un peu français. Uvia laughed. What? I speak a little French. It's the only language I've ever taken. I should learn Spanish, though. Tu no habla español? Sean grinned. Correct. So you know a little. I could teach you more. Sean's knees almost buckled as he watched the colors flow from her skin, blending into the rolling grass and the damp earth. It swirled through the air around her dark, sparkling head of hair. She beamed, gold flecks and soft white light flowed hazy from her teeth and eyes, mingling with the tiny motes popping from his skin. Sojourner's words cut through his mind. Don't do this again, Sean. He took a deep breath to settle himself, and all the frosted colors twirled up his nose to set his brain alight. He tried again, breathing in and out, to let the feeling go. Well, when would you do that? He asked, his voice a little breathless. Huvia shrugged. Whenever we got free time next. Sean could have sworn his feet were hovering above the shorn tips of the grass. And I meant to apologize before I read this because my Spanish pronunciation is terrible, but there you go. That's an excerpt. That's sort of a preview of the types of things that Sean's experiencing as he's essentially going through puberty in a way that no one else ever has.
Thank you, Errick. That was a great read, and it's a great book. I'm telling y'all, get that pre-order now. You'll enjoy it. You really will. So, our last reading for the night. But before I do that, thank y'all for coming. We really enjoyed it. We got one last reading for tonight. And though our fearless leader will not be here to read his excerpt, we will read his bio and then we'll tell you how this is going to roll. Zig Zag Claybourne, named one of the best Black indie sci-fi writers you should be reading by Book Riot, January 2021. Zig Zag Claybourne walks multiple genres, from the fantasy Breathe, Warmth, and Dream to the sci-fi adventures The Brothers Jetstream Leviathan and its sequel, Afro Puffs Are the Antenna of the Universe, to drama By All Our Violent Guides and comedy Neon Lights and Conversations with Idris. He claims one overriding goal: imaginative joy. His stories and essays have appeared in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, Apex, Realm, formerly Serial Box, Galaxy's Edge, Giganotosaurus, say that 3 times as fast as you can, Strange Horizons, and numerous anthologies. He's a frequent speaker at libraries, conventions, and a slew of podcasts. You can find him at zzclaybourne.com. Usually when we do this, Zig Zag is our last reader because the brother brings it in a way that nobody else can. That's just is. But unfortunately, he's a little bit under the weather. He's here with us actually, but he's like, sitting back in the cut watching all this kind of stuff, and he's going to grade all of us at the end of this presentation. So y'all make sure y'all put in good words for us. But hey, we got a section he's going to read, and I'm going to let Rob talk about it in more detail. This brother's so bad that he had to get 3 people to read his excerpt. So that's how it works. So I'm gonna step back and let Rob step forward and tell y'all how.
Hello, my name's Clarence, but you may know me as Zig Zag Claybourne. This is my novel, Breath, Warmth, Dream, by, again, me, Zig Zag Claybourne. Actually, no, I'm not Zig Zag. You know I'm not Zig Zag. If you know Zig Zag, then you know exactly what he looks like. This book we're going to read, or the snippet we're going to read today, is from the 3rd book of his Kamala trilogy, the first of which is Breath, Warmth, and Dream. This is not the actual cover. The actual cover is this really beautiful, literally it's a warm cover, but I like to take the front off the books. I just like the way it shines. And also you can see the title much more clearly. As Milton was saying, this book is so powerful that we actually had to divide it up into 3 different pieces. So I'm going to read the first section of the snippet that Zig Zag has given us from book 3 of the trilogy, which no one has heard yet. This is the first time it's been recorded. It's been out in the wild. Then Justin's going to take the middle section, and then Eric's going to finish us off. I mean, you know what I mean, Eric. Listen, no, before I get started, before we did this thing, Clarence asked me if I wouldn't mind coming up with people's intros. And I said, yeah, dude, but just so you know, I'm in a weird spot emotionally because I teach kids all day. So my filters are really low. And I sent him one thing that I did on intro. It was like, oh my God, Cameron, filters back on. Filters back on. We're not doing this. So I'm going to keep it cool and collected. Here we go. I will start, and then it will be Justin and then Eric. Kamala Tales, Book 3 of the Kamala Trilogy. An opponent refusing you the chance to choose between 2 weapons receives both. Bog, being smiling, buried his latest axe deep. The spiny thorax bucked, while slicing the sword outward to keep the reaching tendrils at bay. The holomark shook with ferocious might, throwing Bog off its back and into the air, too far from anything softer than the compacted sand below, too high to do anything but be injured upon impact. Amnandi threw the first portal to catch him as he fell. Her mother threw the second, allowing Bog to roll so quickly to his feet with his sword ready that onlookers were hard-pressed to say he hadn't already been standing there. Magical teleportation was an excellent assist to barbarianing. Ayande had perfectly positioned him at one of the holomark's rear legs. A 2-handed swing cleaved bristles, skin, and bone like cane. the Hallowmark world. Boggs spied the appearance of another portal and ran inside it, exiting opposite where the berserk beast expected him to be. Another slash, harder this time. Any warrior's weapon that didn't say, "Do I have your attention?" wasn't being used right, and the weapon in the hand of this particular unsmiling warrior from Nostra spoke quite clearly. Most of the construction crew had run away. Several stood at the far fringes, pikes, shovels, and axes clenched in dirty hands. Bog hoped they'd stay away. Nothing needed to die today. One glance at Kamalo confirmed that hope, and after all this time, he still felt more at ease calling her Kamalo rather than Ayanda. Ayanda was someone anyone might know. Kamalo was reserved for an intimate few. On the other hand, he may have simply been a foolish romantic getting on in his years. By the goddess Morka, even Amnandi was a full adult now. The weak girl he'd chaperoned on her first sailing trip without her mother was giving him a definitive nod from her high vantage, directing his eyes skyward. She was going to send him to the Hallowmark's craggy back again, where his axe protruded. Bob was glad of that. He was forever retrieving axes from uncooperative adversaries, and this newest blade was barely a year old. The portal opened directly beside him. He pivoted into its blue haze.
Ayanda hadn't done much yet, which was odd. She was Ayanda when she vexed him. Didn't happen often. High degrees of uncertainty were occupational hazards. Barbarians on major quests rarely got vexed. He dropped into the Hallowmark's back. His thick-soled boots protected him from the thorny hairs, but footing remained precarious. It'd been a long time since he was a young fool falling off monsters. He yanked his axe free. The handle and head were as dirty as they normally were, but no blood. Hallowmarks circulated blood to their limbs only after feeding. This one, offering up a bone-dry blade, hadn't eaten in days, which he realized was what Kumalo had waited to see. The construction guild's claims of having lost 4 workers in as many days was a lie. Mother Kumalo, from her own lofty view among the fronds of a tall chiba tree, one of the few trees to grow in that desert climate, did the math on the lie. Was it half truth, quarter truth, lie compounded with intent, or the too prevalent incompetence squared with greed? Boggs slid the axe into its sheath on his back. He had made 2 cuts already. The witches clearly wanted a third. Hallowmarks healed remarkably fast and were thus extremely long-lived. They were said to be era's true historians, as humans tended to leak so much fiction into any reportage as to make the past insulting.
Unmute. Unmute. There you go.
Yes, Hallowmarks ate humans. They ate steer, beetle, colonies, cacti, dung, and whatever else offered itself in bulk. But usually in the deep, unoccupied deserts. This one had come closer to settled land. Boggs' sword came down once more, adding numbers to Kamalo's math. Dry, but quite angry. The beast hadn't reacted to Kumalo's attempt to communicate with it before. It certainly wouldn't now. Hadn't even acknowledged Amandi. That's Amnandi, who seemed to have eclipsed her mother's rapport with certain members of the animal world. When the Hallowmark had charged the 3 of them from its burrow, if a sinkhole wide enough for several ox carts could be called a burrow, Amnandi and her mother attempt to calm it did nothing. Instead, the Hallowmark swung a pincer so hard it cracked Boggs' shield in 2, sending him tumbling across the sand. Despite their size, the segmented beasts tended to stay near means of escape. The hole it had blasted from was a short run from the construction site, and Kumalo and her daughter now ran full out toward its pit. Their colorful robes waved like banners. The Hallowmark divided its attention between their motion and the annoyance on its back. It decided on motion, moving its body quick as an eel atop the hot sand. Amnandi threw portals to keep them well ahead of the hollow mark, her mother following into each a split second behind her. At the mouth of the burrow, Amnandi's eyes flared bright. A magic bug had yet to get used to. The next instant the light disappeared because the two women had dove into the dark. The holomark followed. Things were now fully out of Bog's hands. Since that fact vexed him under this brutal, inhospitable sun, he worked on calming his labored breathing.
Ta-da! Ta-da! You really, really need to get this book. It gives you that Conan action you want, but it's so much subtler and so much brighter and so much more beautiful all at the same time. Please buy this book because it's worth your time. You are worth its time.
This is another one of those things where, like I'm aware of other of Zig Zag's writing, usually the more comedic stuff, but this I hadn't been aware of. So it was really interesting to read this and to find out about it, you know. That's why I want us crowing about these things, you know.
Yeah, I read the first book, and it creates a mood that it's one of those books that I guess you want to savor. You want to take your time reading it because the prose and the rhythm of it is just it's soothing at one minute, and then you get to these action scenes, and they just get all out, and you're like, what the hell, just that transition is just amazing, and I enjoyed it very much, and I'm looking forward to the second book as well, because I really need to check this series out. It's a great series.
I really feel like he writes like jazz. It's like I can only read so much of it, and I have to kind of back away and absorb it, and then come back and read some more of it. The cadence is so unique, and you know, just the organization of words just blows my mind when I'm reading his stuff.
And the book Neon Lights, I cannot finish that book because I started reading a few pages and I'm laughing so hard. And I'm like, I can't. I mean, it's just hilarious. It's a hilarious book, and the way he's able to do these different things, and even the conversations with Idris, it's just a
That's
variety.
funny.
His talent to be able to go to different subject matters and talk about it. I mean, he'll have you laughing one minute, and then he'll say something profound the next minute, and it just keeps you going like that. So, Zig Zag, if you're listening, we're up here gushing over you. So, you know.
Y'all got this sickly man over here smiling like a fool. That's all right. That's all right. I ain't saying no to that. Thank y'all, brothers, for that beautiful reading. Excuse me. Apologies to everybody listening to my crackly ass voice. This has been the best I have felt in about a solid week because y'all have brought some light into my days, and I thank you so much for this event.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for, organizing the first and organizing the second. And, we'll be probably looking for a third one coming down the road.
Hey,
Gotta
I
do
won't
that,
say no to that.
Yeah, give Rob some time to grow some more hair on his face, and
Here is not enough time, so just whenever you feel
about 5 years.
you feel ready.
Yeah, I was about to say that's gonna put us at about what, 2035?
Yeah. Don't wait on me. You'll get half a Fu Manchu, and it's not worth it. It's not worth the wait.
I'm gonna jump off, grab that Robitussin right quick, and let y'all do what y'all do.
Yeah. We're rolling into the shit talking phase. So before we do that, thank you to everyone that came by to listen to us read tonight. We it's something that we enjoy doing, and we're happy that you guys enjoy listening to us. Like we said, we're in particular times, right now, and to be able to, whenever we get a chance to get together and relax a little bit and just enjoy some good words, it's always a great time to do it. So before we head out, I want to give everybody a chance to again, tell us tell us where we can find them, and we'll start with Rob.
Okay, unmute myself. You can find me in New York City or rob-cameron.com. Just let everyone know Nebula Voting opened up, I believe, yesterday. My book, Daydreamer, is up. It's available for you to vote on for the Andrew Norton. So please do take a look and see if it's up there from the SIP website for you to read if you want to get a review copy. It's the work of my life, and as like Milton said, waiting for that second, I need I need to prove to the publishers that people want to read this book. So please do take a look. Thank you very much.
Gerald, how about you, man?
Thank you again to Carlos for helming the IT side of things, and CSE for both of them for kind of keeping folks up to date of where each of us are and what we're doing in the comments. Obviously, thanks to Zig for bringing us together again. Listen, man, I'm certainly not opposed to an annual gathering of the brethren for a reading. So yeah, let's keep that on the burner and see. And thank you to everyone in the audience who hopped on to listen to us read tonight. You can find me at geraldcoleman.com. And again, thank you. As I said earlier, as I was reading, we crossed the finish line on the Kickstarter for Incendiary, the new poetry collection, poems and essays, and that was thanks to some folks in the listening audience tonight hopping on and grabbing a signed copy. And so thank you all for that as well. And just glad to be here tonight. Again, you can find me at geraldcoleman.com, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Maurice.
Hey, once again, thanks everybody. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Claire. You two always make my heart happy. Let's see. Like I said, Breath of Oblivion just came out about a month ago. Got a couple stories coming up. Well, actually, there's one in the Captain America anthology that just came out. I got Space Funk is out and about. I just made a stack. I was just like, oh, here they are. Here are these books I'm excited for. And then like my next story, I think the next big one is I have a story coming out in the Stephen King anthology in the fall. So I'm just sitting here with the pen in hand, trying to keep it going. So appreciate y'all.
What's up? That's what's up. Just
let me say, just interject again that, like, you know, I'm appreciative of Maurice because not a lot of times, but sometimes folks can make it and they can kind of, you know, get across that bridge and forget the bridge behind them and forget who's on the other side of the bridge and just kind of, you know, bask in their own success and what they are doing. And, you know, my experience with Maurice is that he's very humble about his success and about, you know, being clear about what his motivations are and kind of what his commitments are to the cause and to the community. And yeah, I appreciate that. Like, you know, I know some folks who are best-selling authors and this, that, and the other, and they got book deals and blah blah blah, and you know, they think that the bathroom doesn't stink when they leave, you know. I'm gonna say that politely, but you know, seeing Maurice be very down to earth and still be willing to kind of jump in and say, hey, the brothers are getting together, let me get together with the brethren and I. So I appreciate that. I want to take a moment to say that because I know some folks who once they get up the ladder, they pull it up behind them and keep it pushing. And so it's always refreshing to me to run into some folk who know better than to do that.
Yeah, I am because we are, brother.
Yeah, I second all of that. As loath as I am to Gerald to speak for me, I second all that heartily. Yes,
I mean, that's true. And plus, he knows if he does do that, we're gonna roll up in Indianapolis anyway.
Very true.
Embarrass him in front of his people.
and I'll drive.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be driving. I don't know about a plane. I think I'm gonna be driving Portal.
Yeah, it's not that far away. So you know.
No, but yeah, we all know some folk who, you know, they got the golden ticket and they think that, you know, they don't know anybody anymore. So whenever I kind of see the opposite of that, I always like to kind of point to that and take a moment and you know, talk about it, because I think it's important. You know, it's important that we remember whatever our successes are, to remember kind of who we are and where we come from.
That's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate
Justin,
you.
where can we find you, man?
So I just wanted to co-sign that because Maurice was volunteered to be a SIFWA, like I forget what it's called, mentor for me like 5 years ago, and he blurred my book right here in the bottom. You can't see it. So so I also he said it really well. So I also want to co-sign that, and thank you. Thank you all.
Wait a minute. Let's applaud that again, Justin, because folk don't know how tough and humiliating the process is of going out to get blurbs for your book. That's a humbling experience, particularly when you try to get somebody to blurb for you. That's a humbling experience. So yeah, let's not run past that.
So me, JustinCKey.com. I don't think he's on here, but it's a funny thing. I'll just say real quick. What you might think, why the C? There's another Black Justin Key in LA with a beard, same fraternity as me, and he's in entertainment. And so I need to put the C on. And then I thought I was going to be different with Dr. Justin Key. He just got a PhD, popped back up on social media, and his middle initial is D. So there's a Dr. Justin D Key. So I got to keep the C. But anyway.
You can't get away from it.
No, I can't.
Okay, but wait a minute. What I need to figure out why I'm going to mute you or not. What fraternity are you in?
Alpha File.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we couldn't all make it. So look, the world was, and I said that without even knowing where you're from, so don't take it personally. The world wasn't ready for you. My short story collection. I have a book that I'm finishing up right now to be my first novel. It's sold and all that stuff, and hopefully, you know, I'm in the finishing stages. Tentatively called The Last Hospital, unless I think of a better name, and it's a medical thriller, and I'm literally like sending it into the editor like a week from now, hopefully early 2026. That's why my eyes a little low right now.
All right, it's a straight thriller, or does it have speculative elements to it? Or
speculative.
Okay.
Yeah, science fiction.
Okay.
So when things go off the rails, they really go off the rails.
Well, what is the other doctor doing?
The other doctor, I think I forget what he has a PhD in. I think
does he have a novel? Does he have a book too?
You know,
he's writing a medical speculative fiction book.
if you search Justin Key book, mine will come up first. I think he got some stuff.
Right.
But like, you know.
Right. I had the same. That's why I have my middle initial too. I always tell folk I'm not trying to be pretentious. I'm just not the professional hockey player or the Catholic priest that you're going to find if you just Google Gerald Coleman. I am neither of those persons.
Oh, Gerald, I think you've been a little.
You just need to take Deadpool's advice, Justin, and those dudes need to find themselves in your trunk.
No, I kind of thought about it.
I'm not saying you got to kill him.
I mean, recorded, but like NSA, what do they care? They don't do speculative.
Errick, the reason I yelled out Semper Fi is because my father was a Marine. He actually retired as a gunnery sergeant, and this was back in the 60s. So you know the kind of stuff he was dealing with.
Yeah, he was made entirely of stone.
Exactly. Well, yeah, bro, tell us where we can find you and what you got going on.
Well, many thanks to Carlos Hernandez for dropping my URL in the chat. So erricknunnally.us. If you spell my name correctly in a Google search, I'm the only one who comes up. That's why I don't use my middle initial.
Like double R, triple N's.
Right, because nobody else uses all those consonants in
I
their
was about
name,
to say,
right?
where did all that come from, man?
Just double the letter. Listen, look, ASCII characters are free. You all don't have to pay for them. You know what I'm saying?
I can pronounce your name without any of the vowels in your name. It's Nunnally.
Depends on. He would say that boy Errick Nunnally.
Because it depends on what part of the country you're from.
That boy, all right. He good.
Hey, look, the audience is getting the real view of us, like we in a room by ourselves.
That boy Errick. All right, go on.
That boy Errick Nunnally. That's what you get down here in the South, bruh.
So
All right, brothers,
the
before we
next
get too deep in the woods, give everybody another view of them book covers, please.
so the next thing I got coming out is
Here we go.
this.
Get them covers up in the camera.
Yep.
Now, that's a beautiful shot right there.
And this will be out the end of April, April 22nd. And I'm working on moving around the East Coast a bit, even making my way to New York and further to promote the book. So look out for those promotions, and trying to be creative about the things that we do. So not just readings. I'll be in Mortal Kombat with Bracken McLeod and Barnes and Noble and Hingham and a lot of versus stuff. We're just, me and another author just trying to murder each other on stage. It'll be great.
So yeah, thank y'all, man. Thank y'all for coming together. Thank y'all for sharing your talents and your words with us.
Milton, did you give us your stuff where to find you?
No, y'all don't need to know who I am. But no, I am Milton Davis. You can find me at mvmediaatl.com, also at my vanity website, miltonjdavis.com. I am working on some, we just finished Space Funk. Working on actually to finishing a romance novel that I wrote recently. My wife is a big romance reader. I promised her that I was gonna write a romance novel for her. I've been working on it for 10 years, and I'm finally getting to the point where I'm finishing it. So better late than never. But that's what we got going on. Gotta be at Jordan Con with Gerald in April, and you can keep in contact with either one of those ways. And I'm always on Facebook. So I'm always on Facebook, whether you like it or not, I'm always there. So you can check me out there.
Are you all targeting multiverse? I can't make it to Jordan Con, but I'm trying to get the multiverse.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be there.
All right.
When's multiverse?
Huh?
When's multiverse?
October.
October. I can make that.
You should make that. And I'm going to Gen Con for the first time. So
hey, I got MoCon and Gen Con coming up, so don't forget about me.
I owe you an email, bro. You got one coming.
All right, bet.
Yeah, because I may not be able to get there this year, but I'd like to be considered next year. I think is a better kind of slot for me. But okay. I'll shoot you a message.
All right, bet.
You know any couches that could use a black man for at Gen Con?
Actually, I do. Drop me a line.
Yes.
Actually, I do.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I will hobo my way to Indianapolis, and then I will make it happen.
We got you.
Thank you.
2026, man. 2026.
Milton, I want to say that's admirable. The romance to book to your wife. I tried doing that early in my relationship, like years ago. I tried to start I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna write her like a romance story as a gift. And then before I know it, the love interest was like dead, come back from the dead, and my wife hates horror, so she never saw it. But the thought was there.
That's how you make it. That's how you make an ex-wife.
The thought does not count. It is the execution.
Look here, I wrote a romance scene one time. I remember it was my first sex scene. I was so proud of myself, and I wrote it and sent it to my wife, and I watched her read it, and she just took me like, look, what? I'm aware that you've had sex before, but I don't know what is going on in this scene. So.
Why did you use the word throbbing like 12 times? Makes sense.
Eyes don't glow. What are you doing?
I know you weren't thinking of me when you was writing.
Well, actually, I have this is another mistake. I actually have a romance short story that's dropping tomorrow for Black Love Day. We're talking about Black history, Black love, and this one is called Second Kiss, and it's loosely based on personal experience. It's dropping tomorrow, and it actually has if you get it directly from me, it actually has the first 3 chapters of Cinder, which is the romance novel that I'm writing on, which is a a modern urban twist on the Cinderella thing. So yeah.
Now, has your wife read that yet?
Talking about Cinda,
Yeah.
she's read some of it. So far, I'm gaining her. This is a woman that reads romance novels all the time. Every night she's reading a romance book. So,
Wow.
so if she says she likes it, I'm good with that. I don't care what anybody else says.
So
Right.
you didn't hand her a heavily redacted version, right?
I actually wrote romance. You know, most men start writing romance and then it ends up in SW.
And it's 17. Is
Because we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we usually end up with stuff like that. But this is actually romance. This is like almost Hallmark, somewhere between Hallmark and Lifetime.
It is admirable that you dip into all these different genres, because I got one of those and gifted it, and I'll read it afterwards, but nice.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're an indie writer and you don't have anybody to tell you not to write stuff. You don't have an agent or somebody that says, look, you shouldn't be writing that. Like, yeah.
I did the same thing for my wife before she was my wife. Now she's my wife. So
I guess we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sometime tonight.
we're giving folks a view through the looking glass when we, this is what they do when they're together by themselves. It's been a pleasure, brothers. Thank you so much. I appreciate each of you.
Same here, and thank you for everyone for coming. And that's it for tonight. Y'all take care, and we'll see you out there.
well, I know there was a couple of people who had tried to come in a little bit late. This was recorded, so it'll be up for you guys to see if you missed something you were looking for. But
Yeah, we'll put some theme music to it and all that kind of stuff.
okay.
And we'll have it up. Everybody,
All right, y'all.
y'all take care.
All right, take care now.
All right.
All right,
Night, bro.
peace all.